Hi, my name is Angela Fagg with Messenger of Truth or Messengers of Truth. I don't know how it says that on there right now. First off, I want to start off with an apology for not coming back on during the hurricane. I can give a million excuses why. I did have my in-laws over here, and I just didn't want to get back online, to be honest with you. I had a lot of praying that I was doing, not during the whole thing, but I just want to apologize for not coming right back on. And there wasn't really, honestly, there was a lot of wind and stuff, but that's normal for a hurricane, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think that, it was just different, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then these news people always try to tell you that, oh, well, every storm is different. Like, no shit. Every storm is always going to be different. Isn't that the way it's supposed to be? But what I wanted to tell you was what was different for this storm for me was the wind. There was a lot of it throughout the whole day because I'm in Southwest Florida. So we got a big part of it like all day long again. And this time, the wind didn't howl, okay? And what I'm saying is literally the wind was howling in Ian, like howling. Like, oh, like, but like kind of eerie, you know what I'm saying? But this one was way different. But I wasn't going anywhere anyways. I didn't leave during Ian, and I'm not going to leave during the other ones. I'm from Florida. This is where I was born and raised. Have we had more hurricanes in the last couple of years? Well, okay, maybe a little bit more than that, but yeah. And no, it's not climate change. It's so stupid. It just happens. So then we're going to go for a long time without having any again. Maybe like, little rainstorms and whatnot, but there wasn't really... Yes, I am glad that we put the metal on the front of the house because some twigs were hitting. And what I mean by twigs, they were probably about like this big falling off the tree from across the street because a chunk of it fell off. But that's about, it like stopped raining. It had been raining for days. It had been raining here, like just rain and rain and rain and rain. But that was before the storm even got here. It was just like, to tell you the truth, it felt more like a summer rainy day, for like 3 days in a row because we haven't really had that much rain here like we used to. Florida's known for its rain. You can read it throughout history. But whatever. So what I was thinking what was going to happen is like any one of these gusts of wind with all the rain that we could have here that we did have here in all this area, it was going to topple trees over, but it didn't do that. My in-laws came here because they were in a flood zone. We're like right on the outside of the flood zone by blocks or something. It floods here on a regular basis. And what I mean is the street fills up and then an hour later it's gone. It's not like a real flood, how it like stays there all day or anything. The backyard got a little squishy, but once again, I live in Southwest Florida. You should be getting rain like this, especially during the summertime. So I was indifferent about it. And at one part, when it got dark out, I was looking out my sliding glass door and I was standing out there next to the house. I'll have to say, all the, what are those called again? All the transformers were blowing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could see them in the distance because they would light up, you could hear them. But my transformers never blew up. Like, they were sparking, like I was watching them, and I kept the camera because if it was going to go, I was going to get it. You know what I'm saying? I was going to get it on film, but it didn't go, which I'm happy for, to tell you the truth. We never lost power. It flickered a few times well, maybe like 10 times altogether throughout the whole storm. It only flickered. The only thing that made me, the only thing that, and this is kind of a shitty thing to, you know, kind of complain about, but the only thing that kind of I can complain about the whole storm is I turned my air conditioner down to like 68 degrees. And I had sweatpants on. I had to, you know, it was freezing in my house. But I was planning, because if the power goes off, I wanted to make sure I could sleep all night long in a nice, comfortable, you know, my last night of power for however long it takes them to bring it back on, you know. So it was just, that was the only thing that was absolutely uncomfortable. It was just too cold in my house. I mean, shouldn't that be something? Shouldn't that be the only thing that you should have to complain about in the storm? Now, that being said, I started getting nervous because I saw, for the people up in Tampa, because I had watched all these different streaming people, like they put RL, something like in real life, or IRL, in real life, and they like drive around different places. Well, this guy was down there, and they were talking about how somebody had just filmed the Tampa Bay, the water going out. And that made me nervous a little bit. And not for me nervous, but for the people in Tampa. And I was looking out the window and stuff, standing there, and I was looking out the sliding glass door, and I'm like, man. And I'm like, because I'm always talking to God. A lot of people, I thought everybody talked to God like that, like all the time. Like, I just thought that that's what you do, honestly, because who else am I going to talk to? So I was standing there, and I'm looking out the window. I'm not worried or anything. Matter of fact, I started laughing way too many times, which was, you know, making funny jokes. So I started getting a little nervous about, you know, that. And I'm like, man, if that, you know, goes into Tampa like that, that's going to be really horrible for those people. So I'm looking out the window. I'm trying to set the scene here. The wind's blowing. Now it's shifted, so now it's hitting the front of my house and going in between. So, excuse me. So I'm standing there and I'm looking out, and Psalm 91 came to mind, but the part that came to mind was, 1,000 may fall by your side, 10,000 by your right hand, but you will stand and only see what happens to the wicked, okay? So something inside me was like, you know what, Angela? Why don't you go in there, you go get your Bible out of the room, and you'll start to read. You just read it right here, you know? Well, I went in the room, and I grabbed my Bible, and then I was sitting here, and I know that not necessarily are my in-laws completely you know, wanting to hear me talking about God and Jesus and everything, because I'd already been doing little bits and pieces all day, you know, just trying to slide some stuff in there every once in a while. So I said, well, you know what, I'm going to go into the room. So I went into the room, and I have this, I didn't bring it with me, I meant to. I have this little light that I bought off of Amazon. It's a night light for people who read at night for your books, because it puts the light right on the book, so you don't have to have a whole bunch of lights on when you're reading at night going to sleep. So I went in there, and I read that out. I read the whole Psalm 91, and I started praying. This is probably around, I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock, maybe 8:30. I'm not good with time. So, and I start reading it out and everything, and I can feel it, you know, something, you know. So I said, you know, God, and I'm talking to him, I said, you know, God, you know, I have something against, you know, I feel some type of way about some of these churches and whatnot, but there is this one church up in Tampa, and they have been doing a lot of stuff for a lot of people. It's not always it's by what you can show, you know. And I remember during Hurricane Ian, the first video I got to see was of Rodney Howard Brown in a helicopter coming over Cape Coral, Fort Myers area, and that's how I saw Sanibel right after the Hurricane Ian. So, and I knew that he was getting people together to go into the North Carolina area, and something told me that I needed to just pray real hard for that church and those people, because Florida's going to need that church. And this is why I'm bringing this up, because I've been skimming over a lot of churches. What I do, just a lot of different videos, and the River Church I've actually been to. And I went to the Reopen America conference there, or I would have never went there. So I've been paying attention to this church for the last over 3 or 4 years. I went there, and the one video that I made, I met Alex Jones there. But I've noticed something. This church is different than all the other churches. This guy, first off, he's going to say things that you just don't expect, like his big ass fans. All right. But he's teaching people. He wants to teach people. He wants you to come to his church so he can teach you how to survive, teach you how to, plant a garden, teach you how, there's just all kinds of stuff. Plus he has a free Bible college there. I'm telling you this for a reason, because I prayed for this man in his church. I do not know them. I've only met them as in not even really met them, just from online, and then being close enough, like for me to maybe 10 feet away. So I don't know them whatsoever. But what I do want to say is, knowing all this stuff, yesterday morning I was out eating breakfast at Mel's Diner. And after praying for him and everything, and just, really thinking, because if something does happen here, that's the place that's going to help people. They're really going to help people. And it's not going to matter whatever. So this is an important story for me. So yesterday I went for breakfast at Mel's Diner. Great breakfast, and they give you too much. So I was listening to my waitress, and she was talking to one of the other customers, a lady right across the street. I call it the street. It was right across the aisle. Right across. And so she was right across the aisle, and they were talking about North Carolina and how they have family there, how she has friends there. And they have this networking system that they've been trying to do all the way up and down the coast. And they have all these 4-wheel drive vehicles that they're using to get the food and the products and, the things that the people need up to them. So something just drove deep down in and I will talk to anybody. So it just drove deep down in me, because I knew that this pastor was helping people up there. So before we left, I grabbed the lady, don't remember her name for nothing. So I said, hey, I overheard you talking to that lady over there, and you're helping people in North Carolina and some of the hurricane victims. She says, yeah, we're trying to place them in homes, or trying to get, this to here. And she was explaining some of it to me. And I said, well, there's this church in Tampa, and he's been putting things together to help different people in the different storms that we've just had. And I'm sure that he would love for you to call there, because these people really want to help people. And if you need help, or they need help, or maybe, it'd be a good idea for you guys to talk to each other, because this can help more people. And that's all I ever want. That's all I ever want. Okay. I want to see people helping each other. And that's why I'm telling you this story, because that was more important than talking about destruction. There's going to be a lot of destruction. But why don't we make the point in the stories be how much people are helping each other? They're just everywhere. And that's the most important thing about everything that's happening right now, is people coming together and helping each other, no matter where you're from. That's the important thing that's coming out of these storms. Not how much the government hates us all. look, the government hates us, all right? We pay them to hate us. It's the truth, all right? They don't like, I don't think they like anybody, except for the people they get to tell what to do. That's who I don't think they like them neither. But my point being is, something good always comes out of anything that can be upsetting or experiencing turbulence, because it's only an experience. It's only going to last for so long. But it's all with how you're going to look at it. This time around, I wasn't even scared. Honestly, I'm glad that my in-laws came here instead of stayed down there, and then I would be worried that they lost power and then the water came into their house, because they're kind of old, and I would have rather them be here. But if they weren't here, I would have been watching movies the whole time and not paying attention to the storm as much, because that's just where I'm at these days. I went to sleep at 11 o'clock. Everybody else in the house was up and down all night long. I went to sleep and I didn't wake back up until 6 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I didn't wake up at all. So that was great. And so I told you my last video. Hold on, let me check on something. How many minutes are we at?
16. Did we want to put the river up on the screen?
Oh, yes. This is important too. I wanted to put the River Church up on the screen because I put a link in the description for the River Church, because if you know somebody that is in those areas and they want to help or they need help, this is the church to call. You need to call them because they have a networking system bigger than anybody else does, I believe. Back to me, Jimmy. So I told you that if I put them on right now, everything else will be blurry because I only need them for reading. So I told you in one of my last videos that I was going to look up what I read about Solomon and the demons and the wind demons, okay? Now, this being said I want to say this. I don't think that all of the storms, weather modifications, I don't think that. I do live in Florida. It is hurricane season, and it's been this way for hundreds of years, okay? Sometimes I wish they would make it rain more, being that it just doesn't, it stopped doing that. Okay, getting off track. So I told you that I would find what I read about Solomon. Well, I was wrong. It's not in the book of Jubilees. It's in the Testament of Solomon in the, I wanted to make sure I did it right this time. And I did. So it is page 518, chapter 26. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to read a tiny bit. It's a large chapter, too. You would think, hey, Angela, let's pick a small one, or whichever. So it says here, the people of Arabia and Adares, it says here that they have a spirit there that's tormenting their people. They sent a letter to King Solomon, and they said, we have this spirit here tormenting us, and we've heard from all over the place that God gave you the wisdom over these spirits. So can you please help us? So, hold on. The spirit in Arabia of the following kind. At early dawn, there begins to blow a certain wind until the third hour, and its blast is harsh and terrible. It slays man and beast, and no spirit can live on earth against this demon. And then it goes into, hey, send us, can you please come and help us, because it's getting to be too much. So Solomon sends one of his worker dudes over there, one of his servants, and he tells them, hey, take the ring, take this flask right here, and do not listen to what the demon tells you. Get him to go into this flask. No matter how much he tells you, he'll give you all the gold and all this and all that. Just don't listen to him. Just put him in this flask and then seal it with the seal of God. All right, so he does that. Well, he ends up getting this demon to help him to build the temple, to put the cornerstone on the temple. All right? So that's where I read it at. It wasn't in the Jubilees. It was in the Testament of Solomon on page, it's actually on page 519 because that's where I was reading that. I suggest that you read the whole thing because it gives you the whole story and an understanding. Now, my point in bringing that up is that, hold on one second, please. I need something to drink. My point bringing that up is there are some things in this world that we aren't completely educated on. And I'm not saying everybody's stupid or anything like that. I'm just saying that there is things that I think that we need to be brought to light now and that we need to talk about. And there are so many people out there that are going to help everybody, and that's what we need to focus on. Do we need to give warnings? Yes. But I want to see people coming together. You know, and if the River Church wasn't so far away from me, I would go there every Sunday, and most likely Wednesdays, and possibly Friday and Saturday night also. Okay? But I live over 2 hours away. It's a 4-hour round trip just for me to go there for one day. And I do go. So, I just lost all my words. I don't know what else to say. So I'm going to end there, and I think I've said enough this round for now. I'm going to do my best. I did take short videos throughout the day on Hurricane Milton Day was Wednesday. So I'm going to have Jimmy put that together so you can see, because the best part about it is I had birds in my yard all day long. They came to eat. I didn't even take their little bird thing down until it was getting, too windy out there. I didn't want it to fly away because I have this feeder out there for them. So, and I got some of that on recording. And Jimmy will put that together, and it should be up by Wednesday. Until next week, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. And always know that you are beautiful or handsome, you are smart, and that God loves you, and Jesus loves you, and I love you, and I don't even know you yet. But one day we'll meet. All right? Good day.